Kirby and Ira have done an excellent job going through the fundamentals, really the foundation of what a good toss is, what parts of the body you should be focusing on, really the nuts and bolts of the technique of the toss. And now I'm going to touch on two kind of little nuanced things that are kind of little back burner details, but they can make a big difference if you have a misunderstanding about how these things are related to your success with the toss. And thing number one, I was just looking at some pro video last night to check kind of a theory on this, and it has to do with where the tossing arm goes into the court. A lot of times, the way that I really used to teach predominantly was to ask my student to lead his or her arm directly underneath where I wanted the toss to go. And so if it was just a slice serve and we want contact at 1 o'clock, then I would ask him or her to lead her hand directly under that 1 o'clock position and let go so that the ball went straight up and straight down right in that position. But when you watch tennis on TV, most of the pros don't do it that way. Most of the pros lead their arm and their hand along the baseline, and so the path of the ball is actually arced and it curves into where they make contact. Now this is obviously more tricky and more difficult, more complicated than just tossing directly under where we want to make contact. But there's a critical technical element that actually should determine which style you use. And this is what I was kind of doing a little bit of research on last night. A player with a full rotation with their upper body, like Federer, leads his or her arm along the baseline. This is the case for WTA players and ATP players. Players who have a more full rotation back with their upper body, with their torso, their arm naturally will lead more along the baseline. And so you'll see more of that arced, curved toss, which is absolutely a viable method. It just needs to be repeatable using drills that you're about to see from Kirby. The repetitions, as Ira just pointed out a video before this, I believe, are critical. Doing the training, regardless of which style you use, you need to train yourself for repeatability. So this is one style, leading the arm along the baseline and arcing or curving the toss. Sorry, I'm not right-handed, you get the idea. Along the baseline into the right spot. And then the other style would be more into the court. And you'd see this from a player like Wawrinka, who doesn't have a big turn back towards the back fence or towards the back camera. And so his shoulders stay more perpendicular to the baseline. And so his arm is much more into the court. The video I was reviewing last night showed his arm pretty much straight into the court, whereas Federer is pretty much straight along the baseline. And so you'll see kind of different directions of toss everywhere in between. Frankly, I've just started looking at this, but I'm guessing that this applies kind of in gradient fashion from one extreme to the other. So maybe look for that as you're watching professional players, but please know not one or the other is necessarily correct. I tend to lead players towards rotating the upper body more, but it's much more simple, in my opinion, to just toss directly under your target. Either one is viable as long as you put in the reps and you have the repeatable motion to actually be able to place the ball where you want it to go consistently.